Sukhi Hotu and welcome to the Buddhist Mahavihara Facebook page. Today, sorry, we apologize from BMV side, slight delay due to some technical issues. We have fixed it. So we are going live today from the Buddhist Dhamma Dana series that we hold every week. First and foremost, we wish all continued good health and safety in the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic. And we hope that you have received the vaccinations by now. May all beings be healthy, happy, and peaceful during this trying period. Before we go further, we wish to recommend to you to subscribe to the BMV Dhamma Dana series YouTube channel. There are nearly 200 recordings of the BMV Dhamma Dana series by now, where a wealth of Dhamma sharing have been uploaded here. Tonight, we have a valuable opportunity to listen to this interesting Dhamma topic titled Buddhist Concept of Management. This Dhamma sharing will be conducted by Professor Dr. G. Sumanapala Thera, who previously conducted several other Dhamma sharings through the BMV Dhamma Dana series. Professor Dr. Sumanapala is currently based in Sri Lanka. Now we will get him into the studio. Good evening, good evening, Professor.
Good evening.
Welcome to our Buddhist Dhamma Dana series. Thank you for graciously accepting to share the Dhamma this evening titled Buddhist Concept of Management. We look forward to this important topic that is highly relevant to all of us as it relates to life management from many aspects. Now, for those not familiar, we will give an introduction on Professor Dr. Sumanapala. Professor Dr. G. D. Sumanapala was a senior professor and the chair of the Department of Pali and Buddhist Studies, University of Kelaniya, Sri Lanka from 1981 to 2017. Professor Dr. Sumanapala obtained his BA and MA and PhD degrees from the same university. In addition to his service at the University of Kelaniya, he has served 1 year as the director and lecturer of the Vikramarachi Ayurvedic Institute, University of Kelaniya, and 7 years as the director of Postgraduate Institute of Pali and Buddhist Studies, University of Kelaniya. He has also passed the Royal Pandit degree in Pali, Sinhala, and Sanskrit. He has participated and has presented papers in Buddhist Ayurvedic psychiatry and counseling at more than 70 international seminars held in various countries. Professor has published more than 30 books and nearly 100 research articles in Sinhala and English covering the subjects Pali, Sanskrit, Buddhist philosophy and culture, Ayurveda, astrology, and research methodology. For example, in 2017, Professor Sumanapala published a book titled Fundamentals of Buddhism and Ayurveda for Psychiatry and Counseling. He has also published Pali and Sanskrit poems on Buddhist philosophy. He is a member of the board of directors of the Sanchi University of Buddhist Indic Studies, India, and executive council member of the International Association of Buddhist Universities, Bangkok, Thailand. At present, Professor Dr. Sumanapala serves as the course coordinator and a member of the council and the dean of the Faculty of Traditional Systems of Medicine at the Nagananda International Institute for Buddhist Studies, Kelaniya, Sri Lanka. Now I will hand over the studio to Professor Dr. Sumanapala to begin this evening's Dhamma sharing. Yeah, Professor?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I will come out from here. Yeah, and yeah, you can begin the sharing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. First of all, I am very thankful to the Buddhist Mahavihara for inviting me to give this Dhamma talk. And also, I am very thankful to Mr. Leslie who coordinated this event. And also, I am very thankful to Miss Caroline who will work today as the host. And also, I think I have held several Dhamma talks in this series, and today my topic is Buddhist concept of management. But before that, I hope to remind you that because in earlier talks I have talked about the vision and mission of Buddhism, and also to some extent planning of Buddhism. Therefore, some of you have not been present, I think, in those lectures, and therefore I will remind at the beginning about those aspects in brief, and then I proceed to my topic of the concept of management. And before that, before I enter the subject, I have to clarify some points, some common points regarding Buddhist view of the world of experience. The first thing that I have to tell you is that Buddhism, some people think that Buddhism is not only for the next world or spiritual development, but it is not the right idea, because Buddhism accepts the final freedom as Nibbana, but till then it accepts that we have to live in the existences, not only this life, but hereafter also we have to live in the existences, and also we have lived in the past in many existences. Therefore, the life is a process, it's a long journey. In this journey of life, we should be successful in every aspect: personal life, economic life, social life, and political life, etc. Many aspects. The human being means a complex phenomena. According to Buddhism, we have to understand that the person means actually there is no anything eternal. Everything is in a flux. Everything is transitory. Everything is changing moment by moment. But in this process, we can identify some important facts of life. For example, I am always interested in the analysis of the five aggregates. I think you have heard about that. Five aggregates, because person and the related world or the world of experience has been analyzed into many parts. There are some analysis such as five aggregates, four great elements, 12 bases, 18 elements, etc. But however, among those analyses, the analysis into five grasping groups, or in short, five aggregates, is very important. It includes five aspects: Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, and Vijnana. Form or matter, feelings, perceptions, dispositions, and consciousness. Then actually, in a simple way, we can understand that Rupa or matter or physical body and the related material world. It means as far as the human body is concerned, we have five senses, five physical senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, and skin. That is the personality, or the belonging. These five faculties are connected with the human body. Then these five are important because we contact with the external world through these five senses, right? Including the mind. Mind is taken as the sixth sense, but however, these physical senses, through these we contact the outer world. Then there are respective objects in the outer world. That means form, Form means actually color and shape. Contact with the eye, and the sounds, right? Rupa, gandha, and the smell through the nose, then the taste through the tongue, and the temperature through the skin, right? Then these five objects of the senses means the external world. Five senses means the human body. Then this contact between the internal and external aspects happens all the time in connection with the awareness or mental awareness, because mind is a faculty, uh, it is a separate faculty according to Buddhism, because altogether there are six faculties: eye, ear, nose, tongue, skin, and mind. But mind is connected with all the physical aspects, physical senses. Then without mind, all other five senses will not function. That is why, for example, in a dead body, also we can see five senses, but those five senses are not working because the absence of the mind. Therefore, mind should be taken as a separate faculty connected with all other senses. Then these three things always come together: sense faculty, sense object, and the mental awareness or mind. These three things always contact together. For what? The purpose of this contact is to create feelings or sensations. Why? Why these sensations or feelings are created? Actually, it is called emotional life. That means without emotions, without feelings, we cannot act in the society, or we never act, because there is some kind of emotional aspect to work, to be active, right? We are motivated by these feelings. The mechanism of producing these feelings is the contact among these three aspects: sense object, and the consciousness. According to Buddhism, there are four kinds of foods that we need for our survival. They are called Kabalinkara, edible food; Passahara, feelings; and Mano Sanchetana, volitions; and Vijnanahara, personality, concept or consciousness. Then these are the four kinds of foods. Out of them, three are mental food. Only one is the edible food. Therefore, we need four kinds of foods, and most of us need more and more mental foods than the material food. Then, feeling is one of the four essential foods for our survival. Therefore, without feelings, we cannot live. Right? In Abhidhamma, if you know the Abhidhammic analysis of the consciousness, because the best consciousness that we can produce in this world is Somanassa Sahagata Jnana Sampayutta Sankharika. It means it should include, actually, it includes happiness. Happiness means emotional aspect. Jnana Sampayutta, it includes intellectual aspect, cognitive aspect, and sasankara or asankara, that means motivated or not, right? Therefore, two essential aspects of perfect consciousness is are those happiness and emotional aspect and intellectual aspect. These two are the personality. Personality means emotional aspect and intellectual aspect. Actually, these two aspects can be highly developed in a good personality. That means when the emotional aspect is highly developed in a personality, we call it compassion or loving kindness. And when the intellectual aspect is highly developed up to the highest point, we call it wisdom. Then Buddha had developed all these two aspects. That is why Buddha is worshipped by Venerable Buddha Ghosa in his commentaries, Karuna Sitala Hadaya. His heart was cooled by loving kindness. And Panya Pajyota Vihata Mohatama. He had destroyed the darkness of ignorance by the light of wisdom, right? These are the two aspects. Therefore, feelings are very important as far as the human life is concerned, because we are motivated by that to act upon, right? Then feelings are not available all the time. Therefore, we have the ability to store them in the mind as memories. That is called sanya or perception or memory. Because when we store up those memories of feelings, then always they are not present. Therefore, if we want to act upon something, we remind of those former experience related to this matter, and we act upon it motivated by those former feelings related to our memories. That is called perception, sanya. And as long as there are memories of past feelings, what we do is we reflect upon them again and again. Sometimes 100 times, 1,000 times we reflect over them, and we act upon them, act upon the present situations. But however, if we don't reflect over them, they will be forgotten, right? But however, as a result of constant reflection on these memories of feelings, they are transformed into strong concepts in the life. We have millions concepts developed as a result of reflecting over these memories. Then what happens after creating concepts are more stronger than the perceptions. They cannot be easily removed from the mind. For example, we say, oh, I am a Buddhist, I am a Sri Lankan, I am a Malaysian, I am a scholar, I am a professor, etc. All these are concepts that we have developed. Then we are guided by those concepts. That is why Buddha says, Sankappa Rago Purisassa Kamo. Desire means actually attachment to the concepts. We do not see anything in the real world, but we are guided by the concepts. We are motivated by the feelings, and we are guided by the concepts. Tato nidanang purisam papancha sanya sankhara mudacharanti. Actually, the sankhara patya vijnanam, the personality is built up depending on these concepts, right? That is called vijnana, the fifth aggregate. Then out of the 5 aspects of personality, 4 aspects are related to mentality. Therefore, mind should be given the prominent place in life. Therefore, I think among the concepts of management, the mind management is the best and essential thing. Without that, we cannot proceed. We cannot get success in anything without the proper management of the mentality. Because mind, mano pubbangama dhamma, mind is the forerunner of everything. Therefore, self-management is very important. Earlier I mentioned the vision and mission should be for life as well as for institutes, organizations, for anything. There should be a clear vision and mission. That means, purpose. There should be a very clear purpose of life, and also clear mission or the procedure that we have to go on. Right? Then I mentioned that for the monks and nuns, they have one vision and mission expressed in the Mahavagga Pali. That means their ordination. At the time of their ordination, they present the robes to the preceptor and say, in order to make an end to the suffering, please ordain me. Right? Then to realize Nibbana. Then realizing the Nibbana is their goal, their purpose, their vision. And go ye forth, brethren, and don't stop, go forth. Right? Go forth means actually Pabbajja also means going forth. and go from village to village, right? City to city, and preach Dhamma, good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Then that is the mission of the Buddhist monks and nuns. Vision and mission, right? Their vision is to attain Nibbana, to make an end to the unending suffering of the world, and their mission is to preach Dhamma for others' sake. And for the lay people, I mentioned four goals or vision is Arogya Paramalabha, physical well-being, Santutti Paramangdanam, mental well-being, Vissasa Paramanyati, social well-being, and Nibbanam Paramang Sukham, spiritual well-being. To attain these four kinds of achievements is the vision of lay life. And their mission is explained in many suttas. As far as Sigalovada Sutta is concerned, their mission means to perform their duties towards the parents, towards the teachers, towards the wife and children, towards the friends and relatives, towards the clergy, and towards the workers, right? Those who work under them. Then this is the mission. And also I mentioned several other missionary activities of the lay people. That means treating the parents, treating the clergy, etc. All these activities, that means duties that are recommended in Buddhism, can be considered as the mission of the lay people. And also, first I mentioned the planning, right? Then for anything to be successful, we should have a clear vision and clear mission. We should understand what is my purpose and what should I do, right? These are the two aspects. Then we have to make plans for everything. Without a plan, nothing will be successful. Planning comes the very important. Planning is the very important aspect of life for anything. Without a plan, we cannot get success in anything. Then, first of all, I mentioned the personal or family management with reference to Mangala Sutta. Right? Mangala Sutta includes 38 factors of progress. But however, the knowledge of the facts cannot be practiced because many Buddhist people have the knowledge of all those lists. They know Four Noble Truths, Noble Eightfold Path, 3 characteristics, 5 aggregates, 12 bases, 18 elements, 4 great elements, etc. And also in Abhidhamma, they know mostly the consciousness has been divided into 89 or 120 aspects. There are 52 mental concomitants, and there are 28 material elements. Then the Nibbana has been divided, its path is divided into 8, etc. All are lists. These lists cannot be practiced. These are only theories, right? We have to make plans in order to practice them. That means, I emphasized in the former lectures, there are 2 aspects that we have to study of anything. That means knowledge of the facts and the relationship, causal relationship among the facts. Then this is very important, the second part. We have mostly the knowledge of the facts, many lists, many aspects, right? Thousands of aspects we know. We know how to analyze them, but mostly we are ignorant of the interrelationship, causal relationship among those facts. That is why we cannot get results of Buddhism. Therefore, 38 factors are studied in detail in the Dharma schools, in many ways are explained in detail, but no one has given the interconnection of these 38 factors. For the first time, I have introduced it in the seminars as well as in my publications. Then we can understand, because some of those were not present in those lectures. That is why I am concerning the first about the family planning. That means family planning means management of the family life. Here, in brief, childhood until from birth to about 5 years, normally considered the earliest stage of life. That means, actually it should also occur with meritorious deeds done in the previous life. Otherwise, this life also will not be successful. That is why, the first two aspects relevant to the childhood or earliest stage of life is asevanacha balanang patirupadesavasocha. That means association with good people and living in a good environment. But remember, asevanacha balanang panditanancha sevana pujacha pujaniyanang etam mangala muttama patirupadesa vasocha pubbecha katapunyata. That also is included here, because in order to have a good birth, parents and we ourselves have done good meritorious deeds in the previous life. Otherwise, this life will not be 100% successful. Right? It is also a fact that we need, but we cannot control it after being born. Right? However, there are two aspects. I am not going to explain all the facts. Good association and good living in a good environment. These are the most important aspects for the first earliest stage of life. We have to bring up the children within this context. And next we comes to the second stage, that is good education. Education means nothing but bahu satyancha sippancha vinayocha susikkito. We should experience the society, all social activities. The child should be exposed to the society to understand all social activities. That is bahu satya. It cannot be taught. It should be known through experience. And vocational training, SIPA. SIPA is vocational training. We should have a profession, vocation to live. Therefore, these two aspects are very important as far as educational life is concerned. That is the second stage of life. Then the third stage, that now the person has been brought up in a good environment, and he has many examples because he had associated with many good people, right? Therefore, he is a perfect person, and he has got a good education in professional aspect, and also he has a good experience of all social activities, economic, religious, social, etc. Now he is a good personality. Then now he can enter the family life. He has to build up a family. Who are the members of the family? Mata pitu pattanam puttadarassa sangaho anakulacha kammanta etam mangala muttama. That means mother, father, wife, children. This is the family. Then we have to perform our duties towards each other in a family life after getting married, right? But still, we should not forget our parents. We also should treat them with us, because the traditional knowledge or experience is imparted to the family by the parents, right? Therefore, elders are very important, right? That is the family life. That's the third stage, right? First one, earliest stage, then the educational, and then the family life. This planning. Then fourth one is the social life, because we should not be satisfied in the success of family life, because we live in a society. We have duties towards the society. That means danancha dhammacharyacha nyatakanancha sangahu anavajjani kammani etam mangala muttama. We have to do we have to perform our religious duties towards religion, and towards the friends and relatives, right, as far as possible. That means our social life is very successful, right? And then we have, now we are getting older, right? Now, say about after doing all these things, maybe about 65 years old. Buddhism does not give any age limit to these stages because it differ from person to person, from society to society, right? That is why no definite age limit is not given. It depends on. And now we are adults. Then adults should be exemplary characters for the new generation. That is why Arati Virati Papa, the adult life is the fifth stage. Arati Virati Papa, refraining from all evil actions. Arati Virati Majjapanacha Sanyamo, should refrain from taking alcohol or intoxicating drinks, right? And Arati Virati Papa, Majjapanacha Sanyamo, Appamadocha Dhammesu. We should be mindful about the internal or spiritual development. That is the elder life, right? Elderly life. Then, number 6 is that we are further getting older and older. Now, we should pay our attention to the knowledge of Dhamma. Dhamma is the life science because all other sciences become meaningless at this stage. Now about 70 or 75 or 80. Therefore, other sciences are useless now. Now we have to learn the life science. That means the next two stanzas, Garavocha, Nivatocha, Santutthicha Katanyuta Kalena Dhamma Savanam. We have to respect others. We have to be obedient to our relatives, sons and daughters, etc. And also we listen to the Dhamma. And also, Kanticha Sovachasata Samananancha Dastanam Kalena Dhamma Sakacha. We should be very patient and we have to engage in Dhamma discussions. Then this is the 6th stage of life. That means we should dedicate our life for understanding Dhamma or reality of the world and life, right? Then number 7. Now we are very old. We cannot see, we cannot hear, we cannot move. Then what should be done? We have to concentrate our mind. That means tapocha brahmacharyancha arya satchana dasanam nibbana satchi kiriya chetam mangala uttama. We have to concentrate on our mind without distortion, without delusion, and we should be happy and Puttastaloka dhammehi chittam yasana kampati. Then the person will not be moved by the calamities of the life or with the nature of the life, gaining, losing, right? And ill fame, right? Labha, alabha, ayasayasa, ninda, blaming, prasansa, praising, ayasaya, ninda, sukha, dukkha, suffering and happiness. All within these 8 natures of the world, he will face without distortion. With a clear mind, he will be able to face with all problems of life. Now he will face the final stage of life. Now 7 steps for the life management, right? Then that is why I explained this in detail in the former lectures. This is the family management of family life or personal life. It is an essential thing. Attanameva patamam patirupe nivesai. We should establish oneself on a good ground first. Atanyamanusaseya. Then we can advise others. Then we become a worthy persons in the society. That's family life, right? Then now we'll proceed to economic life. Because management is a good thing in business management also. Buddhism also advises to get success in economic life. But for that purpose, we have to understand the Buddhist view is the simplicity of life, not the complexity. The modern society is very complex because people, the expectations of the people are unlimited, but there are limited resources in the world. But because of our modern views, we are acting not so intelligently. That means, our lives have become a straight line. Straight line. We do not think of the past. We challenge all the things in front of us and go ahead without thinking of the past and the future. Because the highest achievement of the humanity is to find the concept of time. It is a concept, it is not a reality. But when the human beings understood the importance of the concept of time, then they developed up to the highest levels. Because in the animal life, they have no time concept. Just they live on the present moment. That's all. But when the human beings understood the importance of the past, importance of the future and the present, then they, depending on the past and thinking of the future, they plan their life. But however, what happens today? Today we are not living in the past, mostly. According to the Asian system of life, Asian system means actually all religions have come up in Asia. Their thinking is, the way of thinking is different from the West. It is not my idea. I would like to quote one saying of Bertrand Russell, right? You can see this because I have read a little article by Bertrand Russell. The title of it is a collection of papers. Its title is This Modern World. This Modern World. It's a collection of many articles. There I read about 4 pages short article by Bertrand Russell. This has been edited by Brandon, I think, L. Brandon, and it has been published by Oxford University Press in 1939. And this article appears in the journal pages 37 and 38. It's a very short article. There Bertrand Russell says like this: if a European goes to America, USA, he will see the future. And if he goes to India and China, he will see the past. Then he says, if George Washington returns to the earth, to USA, he will be puzzled dreadfully to see his country he created. He will be puzzled dreadfully to see his country which he created, and without feeling at home in his own country, he will go to England. There he will feel less strange. And then he will go to France, and still less strange he will feel there. But until he reach India, China, he will not feel really at home until he reach those Asian countries. Why? There, for the first time, he will see liberty, friendship, love, affection, etc. The human qualities he will see there. This is the difference between these two cultures. Right? Therefore, these are very important, right? Then the economic life, economic life also should be considered in this way. Simple life, to lead the simple life, we need the successful economy, right? I think you have read the book by Schumacher, Small is Beautiful. The life should be simple life, not the complex life. Therefore, in Asian context, life is a circle, not a direct line. But in the modern society, guided by modern science and technology, has become a straight line. They go forward, destroying everything to get their own success. But Asian or Buddhist concept of life is a circle. We go forward, but always we should aware of the past and the future and present. Then we should think of the future generation and we should think of the past generation. That is very important as far as economy is concerned. That is why, environment pollution, right? The all resources have been exhausted, right? Then the humanity has come to a critical stage. Ozone layer is destroyed. Why? Because we think life is a straight line. We go to the future, but we are not thinking of the past. Therefore, this concept of the 3 periods of time should be connected with the life in order to get success in anything, right? Therefore, according to Buddhism, I will explain economic management of economic aspect with reference to 2 suttas. One is Sigala, the other one is Kutadanta. According to then Sigala Sutta also has many aspects, many facts. People memorize them and explain them, analyze them, write articles with hundreds of footnotes. But no one tries to understand their interrelationship, causal relationship. Then we cannot practice it. That's the problem in Buddhism. Then, according to my understanding, all these factors explained in Rigalovada Sutta are interconnected. This also we should plan, right? That means, first it explains 4 unwholesome actions. Panatipato adinnadanam musavado pauchyati paradana gamanam cheva nampasansanti pandita. That means 4 actions should be prohibited in a childhood. If we are making a good businessman, he should be trained in his childhood to refrain from killing, stealing, committing adultery, panatipadu musa, and lying. These are essential aspects for training of the children to refrain from killing, stealing, lying, and adultery. Right? We should train them. That is the moral training of a businessman. Because if we take these 4 aspects into consideration, what has happened to the business world, problems of the business world, because we are violating these principles, right? And when the person grows further to the young age, we have to train them in mental aspect. What are those? Chanda, dosa, bhaya, moha, yo dhammam ativartati. I am explaining the facts in the Sigala Sutta one by one in order. I am not changing them. Right? But in the modern context, we can take any aspect from any sutta and join them together and make our statements. No. All suttas are orderly presented. We have to follow that order. We should not change them. Because if we cannot explain any sutta in order, that means we are taking one aspect from Mangala Sutta, another aspect from Parabhava Sutta, another aspect from Ramanyapala Sutta, and collect them together and give our concept. It is not the academic way, because that means we cannot understand any discourse in order. That means we don't know their causal relationship. That is why we distort all the discourses together. One aspect is taken from the advice of to a monk, and another aspect is taken from advice to a layperson. Then how can we join those two factors? One sermon is given to a monk, another sermon is given to a layperson. Then scholars join them together. No, we are not concerned about that. That is the problem of Buddhism, according to the modern academic world. I am thinking, because any form of discourse they take all together and join them together and make their decisions. That is wrong, because one discourse means one aspect, right? Therefore we should go in order. We should be able to understand their orderly presentation. In childhood we have to train them in moral field. If we are making a person as a good businessman, secondly, we have to train them in mental side. That means we have to teach them. You will be misguided by these four aspects of mentality. What are those? Desire. If the desire comes up, then you will be misguided. Chanda, those, and also hatred. Because of hatred, you will be misguided. Chanda dosa. Bhaya. And if the fear, right? Because of fear, you will be misguided. Moha. And because of ignorance or delusion, without understanding, if you don't understand anything perfectly, then you will be misguided. Then to take decisions, we should not be misguided by these four aspects: desire, chanda, hatred, fear, and ignorance. Right? That is the mental training. Then now the person is trained well in morality and also psychological aspect. Psychologically also he has been trained well. He has developed both moral behavior and mental behavior. Right? Now the third stage. That means, we have to expose the person to the society and we have to give a social understanding. What kind of a society where we are living, right? That is why, some bad actions are, some good friends and bad friends. We have to introduce to him. These are the good friends. These are the bad friends. I think no need to explain them. Anya Dattuhara, Vachi Parama, Anupyabhani, Apaya Sahaya. There are four bad friends. We have to identify in the society there are people like. We have to consider them as bad friends. And Attakkai, Samana Sukha Dukkha, Anukampaka, Upakaraka. There are such good friends. According to their behavior, you have to understand these are the real good friends. Right? Then actually, he should have a good understanding of the nature of the society if he want to get success in economic life. Social understanding. But I will emphasize only one thing, because most people are concerned about the good friends and the bad friends. But there is another stanza in the Higalova, Sutta, which is very important as far as the modern society is concerned. Modern businessmen should be aware of those aspects. There are some friends in the society, it says, Hoti Pana Sakhanama. There are friends, Pana Sakha. Those friends of drinking alcohol, right? Pana Sakha. They become friends only to drink alcohol, drink intoxicating drinks. You can see everywhere in the world, developed or underdeveloped or undeveloped, everywhere in modern societies, you can see those friends always get together and drink. Get together and drink. They are friendly for drinking. Or without drinking alcohol, there is no friendship. Some people think that if you don't drink, then you cannot become friendly with others. Such a mistake, right? Friend, the drinking friends, Pana Saka, right? Everywhere in the world I have seen. Every junction, every city, every hotel, right? In a high class hotel, all are friendly for drinking. That is the great disaster for the world, right? Because people become upset. Delusion arises. People are not behaving in the society with mindfulness because of drinking. Poti Panasakanam. Therefore, for the businessman, we have to introduce such friends in the society. Hoti Panasakanam, Hoti Samya Samyo. Another friend. Because we are not concerned of these. We are always talking about the good friends and the bad friends. But another kind of friend is Samya Samya. Samya Samya means, wherever they meet. Oh, hello, how are you after a long time? Thank you, I am sorry, I am in a hurry. And so, see you again later. Stay in touch. Good morning, good afternoon. Always, good wishes between the two. But no one act accordingly. Only they are friend when they meet. That's all. After that, they forget everything. This is the modern society. In the modern society, there are millions of friends who become friendly to drink. And also, there are millions of friends, those who express their wishes only when they meet. Then Buddha has mentioned in the 6th century BC, I think seeing in the future there will be such friends. Therefore, we should understand the nature of such friends. They are friendly only when they meet together. Oh, thousands of blessings, right? How are you? After a long time, I miss you. And I feel like seeing my own brother, and I feel like seeing my sister, and many blessings, right? That's but there is no friendship inside, right? Actually, it is only expressions, right? But the other friends are drinking friends. Therefore, I want to emphasize these two kinds of friends, right? Just before this explanation of those four kinds of good and bad friends, you can see in the Sigala Sutta about these friends, right? And also, now this person has a good moral training and good psychological training, and now he knows about the society, about the people. Therefore, he will, and also he will not be misguided by the mental aspects, bad mental aspects, as well as by the society. He will not be misguided. Now he can enter the business world. How? There are two methods, you know. Uh, Bamarasseva iriyato, Vammiko upakiyati. Two similes are given. We have to engage in business like a bee collects honey from the flowers. Because when the bees collect honey from the flowers, they never do any damage to the flower, right? They fertilize the flower, right? They also take honey. But you see, today, when businesses are conducted, what happens? Environment pollution, right? Many problems, right? The natural environment is destroyed. Ozone layer is destroyed. Many bacteria are produced, right? People become ill, right? Because of the businesses. But Buddhism advises to do businesses without harming or without hurting the society. Society should be protected because businesses are done for the sake of human beings and people. But we don't forget. Now, business, we forget that. what for we are earning for the sake of beings. But we forget that, and we do businesses to get profit. Profit-oriented businesses. It is the most dangerous aspect of modern business world. Right? They are not concerned of the human beings. They destroy the environment, human beings, right, in order to get profit. Right? Therefore, Buddhist simile is like a bee collects honey from flowers without hurting the flower. And also the other thing, another simile is given like an ant builds up a strong and large ant hill. Little by little, the ant brings soil little by little and build up a big ant hill. Likewise, in small scale, we have to start the businesses, not in large scale. But today, all over the world, we can see large scale businesses. Actually, environmental pollution, right? Many problems arise, right? Because of large scale businesses. But it can be built up step by step, little by little. That is the Buddhist idea. And the other thing, after being success in the economic life, what we have to do? Ekena bhoge bhunjaya. We have to spend a little, 1/4 of income for day-to-day living. That means simple life should be led, although we earn much. But 2 portions of the income should be invested in other industries, in his own industries. And 4th part should be saved to take in danger, to use in danger. That means all these are expenditure, and we have to earn double of this expenditure in order to balance income and expenditure, right? And also, we should not forget in Sigalovada Sutta, another aspect is emphasized. What is the use of this businessman? What is the happiness of this businessman? If there is no happiness, what is the use of business? Those who are engaged in businesses, they are always busy. They have no time to spend for happiness, for relationship, for love, affection, etc. Always they are busy. No, we cannot get good happiness but being busy in the life. But we have to perform our duties according to Sutta towards the parents, towards the teachers, towards the wife and children, and towards the friends and relatives, towards the clergy or religious people, and also towards the workers. We have to, all of them have duties and responsibilities. Then only the balanced society will be produced. This is one of the aspects, planning of the economic life, right? Then actually satisfaction is finally can be obtained not by earning much, but by spending much, right? Because we earn for to expend, no? To expend successfully, usefully, right? That is the economic life. And also there is another discourse called Kutadanta. According to that, also good advice is given. That means, for the first time, because nowadays we have the concepts of organization and management. But anyway, in Buddhism, the term for organization or management is Samvidhana. Actually, the real translation is organization, right? Organization, Samvidhana. It occurs for the first time in the history in the 6th century BC in this sutta in the Digha Nikaya. Sigala Sutta also occurs in Digha Nikaya. This also occurs in the Diganika, Kutadanta Sutta. Therefore, the first time we find the term Samvidhana, Etang Samvidhana Magam. Actually, it is very important, you know. Once the country was, I think India, the country was, country had many problems, right? Many problems, economic problems, social problems, etc. Then this critical condition, right? Then king summoned all the ministers and asked them what to do, what is the solution to solve this social problem. Actually, that the term for social problem, the Pali term is Dasukhila. It's very important. Dasukhila means the thorn of the workers, thorn of the workers. Actually, working people, right? They are suffering, right? Then it is like a thorn speared into the skin, right? Then king asked the ministers how to eliminate, how to take out this thorn of the suffering of the people, right? How to eliminate it. Then many ministers, like today, advise the king, okay, let us have a good, big religious ceremony, sacrifice, festival, procession, right? These are the methods even today used in some countries to forget the economic problems, social problems, right? Then people will forget and engage in those, right? Ceremonies, and also, the music programs, etc., right? Then people engage in them and they forget the problems, right? That is the modern way also. And some ministers in that assembly also advise the king in that way. But fortunately, there was a bodhisattva minister to become a Buddha, right? That means he was a bodhisattva because he was fulfilling requirements to become a Buddha in the future. That such a person is called bodhisattva. In Mahayana also, we have everyone should become a bodhisattva to become a Buddha. No? Then he was silent in the assembly of the ministers. Then king asked, why are you silent? Please tell your idea about how to solve this social problem. Then the Bodhisattva minister told him, oh dear king, if you are spending much money for these ceremonies, sacrifices, processions, etc., I think economy will go down further and further because you have to spend much money for those ceremonies, right? Therefore, I do not recommend such ceremonies. Then king asked, then what is your opinion? What shall I do to eliminate this problem of the society? Then he told the king, you can perform these things, processions, ceremonies, etc., once the country was developed economically and politically. Till then, etang samvidhanamagam, you have to organize the society. That is the first concept of organization. You have to organize the society of this country in order to develop the economy and other things. Then king asked, I don't know what's that organization. How to do that? Then the Bodhisattva minister advised the king, there are 3 steps in organization of the society. What are the 3 steps? First of all, collect all farmers who are skillful in agriculture, right? Those who are experts in agriculture, collect them all in the country, right? Collect all the experts, skillful persons in agriculture, because agriculture comes the first thing to solve the economic problem. Right? Now you can see, even in the developed countries, in most of the developed countries, they have developed their agriculture to the highest level, right? That is the first step. Then the minister told the king, collect them all and encourage them and give them all essential facilities to engage in agriculture. Develop agriculture first. Right? Actually, Kasi Gorak, at that time, those who are engaged in agriculture and farming, right, encourage them. And Bhatta, they should be given food and other facilities. Otherwise, they cannot engage in them. Right? Give them other necessary things for agriculture. Right? Provide them food and encourage them to develop agriculture. Then production should come first in developing economy in a country. Production, right? Without production, we cannot go ahead if facilities are there. We know that in Malaysia, in Thailand, right, in Burma, in Sri Lanka, in India, in all these Asian countries, there is a very good environment to develop the agriculture, right? Therefore, that is the first stage, right? Bhatta Vetana. And we have to give them all facilities. We have to encourage them, right? Then they will engage in agriculture and they will develop agriculture and produce many crops, etc. in the country, right? Ekanamaking Sabbe Satta Aharattika. What is number one? All people depend on food. Therefore, food should be given the first place. Production. Then in the planning, then the first stage. What is the second plan? Second stage. Then the Bodhisattva minister says, there are people who are skillful in trading, right? Business. Collect them all. Collect them all in the country who are skillful and expert in trading and provide them capital. Pabhata, right? Pabhata is the term for capital to engage in businesses. Now you see, there is in some countries, they develop the management skills, right? Business management, but they do not produce anything. Then what they have to sell, right? In trading, we should have something to sell, no? Without producing, what we have to sell? Then we have to sell. If there is no productions, we have to sell. We have to trade our culture, our the ancient heritages, etc. No, we will destroy our culture because without selling our culture, there is no production to be sold. Right? Therefore, first should be encourage production. Then we have to encourage the trading. Right? Then now we have many productions to sell internally and externally, internationally, right? But the king should provide capital for them. But business is not a certain there is no surety in most cases. They will fail in business management, right? Therefore, it says that Dinne appahonte panne alikitwa punapidatam until they get success. If they fail in business or trading, the capital means actually it is a loan, right? They should be given a loan.
Prof, sorry, but time check. We do need to wrap it. Probably like give it another 5 to 10 minutes because of the time. We already exceeded quite a bit.
Right. Going to finish. Huh? Then once they get failed, they have to cut off those loans. The king has to cut off those loans and provide capital again and again until they get success. That is the nature of the business, right? Panne alikitva means without writing on the book, they should be provided capital again and again, right? Until they get success in business mode, right? Now that is the second stage. Third stage, what is the third stage? That means Bodhisattva minister advises the king, collect all those who are skillful in management, right? Management of the royal affairs, right? Then provide them a good salary and the food and train them to manage, coordinate all these things officially. Then the government will be very good in that aspect. Now you see how simple and how useful a country to be developed economically. First should encourage agriculture, then trading, national and international. Then the management system should be systematized, right? Then the whole country will be successful. Now you see, today I explain only from the beginning. I repeated my early lectures, otherwise this lecture will not be perfect. Therefore, vision and mission, right, is and the family management of family life and also management of economic life. Then we have to talk on other managements like time management, knowledge management, political management, etc. We have to apply. We can see many discourses in the Buddha's teachings related to all these aspects. Therefore, thank you very much for listening to my talk. And if you have any question, you can raise and I can answer if time is available. Thank you very much again for the Buddhist Mahavihara for inviting me, and also Mr. Tilak, Leslie, and also Miss Caroline for hosting this program, and all of you for listening patiently for my talk. Thank you very much.
Professor, actually, if more time, definitely want to hear more. I feel like we should have a part two because actually what you shared is very good, and we just don't have enough time already. But anyway, we want to say that thank you for the very enlightening and insightful and interesting Dharma sharing. And you share a lot of the different principles or points, about how to manage our life better in all the different aspects, economic, financial, social. So I didn't see that many questions, but I think maybe we can attempt one. It's actually coming from my side. Uh, this is more of yeah. So I said, dear Prof, how do we balance economic goals with spiritual aspirations? The two does not go well together if you are seriously pursuing each of them. So most of the time, most people, if you choose economic pursuit seriously, I don't see that it can go that well with spiritual aspiration. If you pursue the spiritual aspiration, eventually we need to take up some precepts and we have to let go of the economic side. So I think in lay life, maybe you can give us some tips of how we can balance these two. Yeah. So only one question though, I think tonight because of the late hour, and this is the question we have. Perhaps Professor can share how we can balance these two.
Economic life and
Economic goals. How do we balance economic goals with spiritual aspirations?
all right. This is
Because
yeah,
they are not really in line. If you are serious about each and every, if you are serious about spiritual goal, you have to let go of the economic goal. If you go for economic goal, then or you just you are neither there nor here. You're just 50-50. So how you balance these two?
I
So
think
only
yeah. Actually, the spiritual life means nothing but spiritual. That means physical well-being, mental well-being, social well-being, and spiritual well-being means nothing outside of life. It is an essential part because all people face these calamities. What are those? Birth, decay, disease, and death. Then this is an essential part of life, right? Therefore, we should have some solution to this problem also, because all of us become old, subject to diseases, and we should die. Then if we have no solution to these eternal problems, we are not satisfied. That is why Buddhism says we should spiritually develop. That means we develop our moral life, mental life, and intellectual life. That means spiritual life. Then only we can understand what is the nature of the real world. That is why from the beginning Buddhism advises to concentrate on death, concentrate on filthy attitude, marananusati, asubha, etc. Because we should not forget them from the beginning. Both should be well balanced, like a shock absorber, like a spring, right? Life should be trained to the positive side as well as to the negative side. But we are only concerned about the positive aspect. No, internally we should be aware of the two aspects of the life. That is the reality, positive and negative. In Buddhism, all kinds of meditational practices are related to the negative side because we always forget that. But if from the beginning, if we understand that these negative aspects are very natural for the life, then we have no difference between the two, right? That is called spiritual aspect. Then even thinking of that way, we will be happy when we gain, and also we will be happy when we lose, right? No problem, because mind should be fixed in a middle point. That is called middle practice. Thank you very much.
Excellent guidance on this, Professor. And I think what you're saying is that balance the positive and the negative side and not just looking at the negative aspect. Lah. Okay, right. So we really come to the end. Uh, okay, we don't have any further questions. And so we're coming to the end. We'd like to invite you, Prof, if you are able to conduct the Anumodana, the transference of merits to the dearly departed and to the Devas. Are you able to do that?
Okay, right. Okay, now you know that in this program we concentrated our mind and we paid our attention to the reality of the world, Dhamma. Then it is called in Buddhism actually Samadhi and Panya, right? Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. There are three aspects of the Buddhist path: morality, concentration, and wisdom. Actually, by listening to this Dhamma talk, you were very restrained, and also your mind was concentrated, and you paid your attention to understand the reality of the world. Then, by doing these things, you have earned much merits, right? You have done a great meritorious deed. Sabbadhanam dhammadanam ginati. If someone supposed to give this Dhamma talk, that means that is the highest giving in the world. Sabbadhanam dhammadanam ginati. If someone offers Dhamma to others, that is the highest giving. Therefore, I think you have collected, you have acquired a large number of meritorious ideas, right? Or a big meritorious deed you have done. Now you can express your blessings to your departed relatives as well as to the whole world. Therefore, let us think that all the deities may rejoice in this good action, good meritorious deed, and they will protect us with their kind blessings. We should be able to live a long life without diseases and problems. The gods will bless us after rejoicing in this meritorious deed. And also our dead relatives, our parents, brothers, sisters, relatives, etc. have departed, and also members of this Buddhist Mahavihara, I think many people have died. All of them will rejoice in these meritorious deeds, and especially we have to remember Venerable Dr. Kesari Dharmananda, who developed this center, and including all the Buddhist monks and others, those who are departed will rejoice in their next life, having their satisfactory life and finally will all attain Nibbana by the blessings of these meritorious deeds. And also those who are participated in this ceremony and all beings in the world will attain Nibbana by the power of these meritorious deeds. And all of you will have a long life and healthy life and a satisfied life with the blessings of the triple gem and these meritorious deeds. Thank you very much.
Professor Sumadapala, on behalf of the Mahasangha and the management of the Buddhist Mahavihara, we wish to express our appreciation, gratitude, and thank you to you for the sharing of this very insightful talk. In fact, I think the fact that we are running out of time means actually there's more to share. There could be a part 2. Yeah, we hope to invite you again, yeah, for a second session. Also, we want to express our thank you and gratitude to the sponsors for this Dhamma sharing and for the viewers who patiently listen to the sharing tonight, despite some technical glitches and the delay in the time. On a final note, don't forget to subscribe to the BNB Dhamma Dana series YouTube channel. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu. Okay, thank you.